What is up, guys? Welcome to my channel. If you are returning, I love you. Thank you for being here. And if you are new, welcome. I am Keta Loren. Remember to like, subscribe, and do all the button things. Comment down below. If you have a special request for a video, I read all my comments and I try to respond to as many as I can within like the first week of them being left. So if you want a response from me, make sure to comment early. And yeah, let's get into it. So today we're going to be talking about setting boundaries properly. And I wanted to make this video because I don't see a lot of content on it. There's a lot of content on the fact that you need to be setting boundaries, but nobody really tells you a step-by-step process on how to go about it. So I'm going to explain my process, and it's been highly effective in my life. I would say that I'm an expert on setting boundaries. Maybe a little too good. Maybe I'm a little too good at it. First step, if you haven't written a list of your non-negotiables, then you don't know what your boundaries are. If we're coming from a place of we've been people-pleasing, we've been codependent, we've been extremely reliant on other people for our self-esteem and our validation, then we haven't had many non-negotiables, right? We don't have things where we're like, oh, no, red flag. No, we're done with that. We need to, that's a highly volatile situation. I know what I'm getting into when I walk into that, and that's a hard no, hard pass, right? So get your little journal, and you need to think about what your non-negotiables are. I don't like lying. I don't want to be lied to. That's one of my non-negotiables. If you lie to me, I do not trust you. And I understand that it's extremely common. That's fine. I would rather have a small amount of quality people in my life that are not deceitful than to have a bunch of people that I can't trust around me. I'm very protective of my energy. I also don't let people yell at me. It is non-negotiable. You will not yell at me or I will leave. I understand that people get upset in the heat of the moment. There is a proper way to communicate what you need. If you cannot communicate without screaming, yelling, tense, dramatic dysfunction, then you are emotionally mediocre. And that sounds really screwed up, but it's just saved me a lot of pain. Because people who want to resolve conflicts do not make the conflict worse. Some people don't know how to resolve conflict, and they revert to the patterns that kept them safe in childhood. Is that a trauma response? Yes. Is it their fault? No, but it's their responsibility to fix it. And until we start holding people accountable for their actions, they will remain the same. Nobody changes unless they're backed into a corner. And the way that you can ensure your own peace, which is the most important thing about you in your life, is to set firm boundaries. So write out your list of non-negotiables. What are the things that make you feel that deep in your chest, right? When it happens to you. Write the list down so you now know what your non-negotiables are. Those are going to be the outline for your boundaries. It is going to take you a little bit until you start recognizing that your boundary is being crossed, especially if you've been a people pleaser for a long time. Now, I am not a people pleaser with most of the world. I'm very direct. People have also thought that it was aggressive. No, I just know what I want and I'm gonna tell you because that's how I get it. I know that the squeaky wheel gets grease, but there was a select group of people in my life at one time that the rules just didn't apply to them. You know, I was willing to kind of put up with whatever they had to offer because I thought I had to, because I thought that I was bound to those relationships due to loyalty that was one way loyalty, which I do not participate in anymore. Whether it was family, a relationship that I had invested so much into that I wasn't going to give up before I got to the gold. If you're in a relationship, if that's the reason why you're staying in a relationship is because you don't want to give up before you get to the goal, I'm going to tell you through a lot of experience, if you're having to fight that hard for somebody to not cheat, lie, treat you like shit, emotionally abuse you, you're better off going and finding somebody else or working on yourself. The second step, right? How to communicate a boundary. You don't get to be of emotional esteem if you're participating in the same unhealthy way that they are. If they're yelling at you You don't get to yell back. You don't get to come down to their level and then expect them to come up to yours. There's a saying, and it's, you don't have to create electric fences. It's more just like a nice force field around you. Like, hey, this is what we're doing here. So if you're gonna engage with me, this is the outline, these are the rules. And you have to be an example of what you want from other people, or they will not respect it. And regardless of if they respect it or not, you can't ask of others what you're not willing to give them. You have to be it in order to receive it. So let's go with just yelling, because that's a big one of mine. I do not like to be yelled at. There's absolutely no reason. We both know a lot of words in the English language. We can talk to each other one at a time and get to a resolution. So here is how I would do it in 4 steps. Somebody's yelling at me. 1, I remain calm. That's the biggest thing. It doesn't matter if you have a storm inside. You do not let it show on your face, because people are so reactive to facial expressions. So it's just like this. You take in the situation, okay, this is where I need to set a boundary. I need to remain calm. Deep breath, whatever you need to do. Sometimes if I'm feeling really intense anxiety, I'll just imagine that it's like flowing out of me, that it's just like whatever negative energy is not staying in my body. Maybe the earth's pulling it down. I'm a little woo-woo, but it works for me. So you can try that method. The second thing that you're gonna do is validate them. And I know it seems counterintuitive when they're doing something that you don't like, but trust me, it's the easy way in. And you can do that by saying, look, I understand that this is extremely frustrating to you. I understand that you are upset and your emotions are valid. If somebody said that to you, would your guard come down a little bit? Right, because the point is not to chastise them or make them feel bad. The point is to communicate in a healthy way. So you have to participate in that. Humanize them. Even if they're making you feel bad, humanize them. Because that's what you would want somebody to do to you. The third thing that you're going to do is you're going to set, after you've validated them, you are going to state a power statement. And I say power because I typically will say, I understand that you are upset right now. You have every right to be upset. If you need to go calm down before we have a conversation, I am completely okay with that. The validation, right? Power statement. But I do not allow people to yell at me. And then the fourth thing is a consequence. And if you continue, I will be forced to leave until you are calm enough to communicate appropriately. And then you enforce the boundary if it's still being crossed. I have had a lot of success with people coming back down and being like, okay. And then we speak one at a time. I don't allow people to insult me when we're having a discussion. That's another boundary. I do not allow people to insult me. So if we're going to communicate, then you need to be an adult. You need to communicate to me as if I'm somebody that you love, not somebody that you're trying to hurt. There are a lot of people who just throw daggers and they get angry. They're not mad at you. They're sad at you. They're hurt and they don't know how to convey that without feeling weak. They don't know how to convey their sadness without feeling vulnerable and weak. And so it alchemizes into anger because that is a protective mechanism. The hands, I don't know. It feels like claws, right? Because the claws come out. You'll see the nicest people in the world just taking off their gloves because they got this little, you touch something, right? And it could have been completely unintentional. But if they have some things that they need to work on, or if there's a miscommunication in any situation, if they feel the need to protect themselves, and let's be honest, most people are in survival mode. A lot of people have not learned how to get out of survival mode, and I'll make another video about that. But if they are, and they're ready to attack, you can try to neutralize the situation. And if you handle it in that manner, and they are clearly being disrespectful of those boundaries, they have no intention of treating you with respect. You can try again at a later date. But it's not that they don't want to, it's that they don't know how and they are incapable. And then you have to decide whether or not that person is worth the intense emotional roller coaster that they take you on every time you have contact with them. And you can even set short-term boundaries. Like, for now, until you learn how to communicate a little better, I'm going to take a step back from our relationship. And if in the future you want to try this again, because I love you and I'm not trying to abandon you, but I'm not going to abandon myself so that you can tear me down. I've worked too hard trying to build myself up to allow anybody to tear me down at this point. These are very clear boundaries and they're fair. I'm not asking you to go climb a mountain. I'm asking you to lower your tone, take some time to center yourself and speak to me as somebody that you love, because you said that I was somebody that you loved and you're not treating me that way. And I know the difference now. Okay? So to wrap it up, there was remain calm, positive, validating statement. Give them an opportunity to walk away, go sort their shit out and see if they come back. If they're willing to do these things, then they are capable of growth. If somebody sees how they're behaving and say, you know what, this isn't right, but I'm just really upset, just give me a minute, like, they're capable of growth. If somebody is not, you will know. It will be very apparent to you. The third thing is the power statement. I do not allow A, B, or C. I don't allow people to lie to me. I don't allow people to yell at me. I don't allow people to call me names. I don't care how upset you are. I don't allow people to not show up for me. Whatever the case may be, that allow. Firm and calm. I do not allow this behavior. And then the consequence. And if it continues, I will leave. And that has been the real start of some deep friendships for me. When we really move past the point of being kind of like surface level into something deeper, like I can trust you, you can trust me, because we know how to communicate. And no matter what happens, we know that we can meet each other here, be heard, be seen, be respected, and respectful of each other. And it's ended some because those things were not possible. And those are my boundaries. Those are my non-negotiables. And in turn, I have top tier, high quality people in my life. And don't get confused about high quality people. High quality people doesn't mean that they're successful with business. It doesn't mean that they have a ton of money. It doesn't mean that their status is of envy. It means that they're a good fucking human being. And I would much rather be surrounded by people who have my best interest at heart than around a million people who don't. So, I hope that you got something for this video from this video. Comment down below your favorite part, your favorite takeaway, any other videos you would like me to touch on in the future. And I love you as always. Make it a great week, okay? Mwah!